On this week's episode, we talk about accessibility in healthcare.
We're going to share some stories. Hopefully they're relatable.
Stick around.
Hello, and welcome to Rare with Flair,
the podcast where two best friends with the same rare disease are living our best lives. I'm your host, Cassandra.
And I'm your host, Casey.
Hello. Hello, all. Welcome.
Hello.
We're here.
Welcome.
We made it.
We're back. We're back. We're here. It's good to be back in the booth. We're not in booths, but
we're at desks.
I like to act like
I know.
I like to act like we are. How was your Easter?
It was okay. It was fine. It was restful because I got a surprise virus right before, and I had
yes, you did. Yeah,
disgusting GI symptoms for a couple days. I felt better by Easter, and that was nice. But I just took it easy. I went to church, and then I just kind of hung out. Yeah. Mine was good. I got to see a lot of family, so that's always a crazy time, but a good time. And other than Easter, I can't really think of much that's happened in my life lately, to be honest, unless you have other updates for us. It's just been kind of chill. We're excited because probably our next episode is going to be like more of a catch-up episode of just what have we been into lately. We do this periodically throughout the year. So I'm trying to think of anything that I'm not specifically saving for what are we into lately.
Because that's what I was thinking. Like, most of what I would say here, I'm actually saving for next time. So definitely tune in next time if you want to hear what we're saving, our secrets.
What we're up to. Although it is warm today. I don't know if it's warm for you.
Yeah. It's been warm here for a bit, but not terribly warmer than normal.
It was like 80 degrees. I went to the gym. It was toasty. Yeah, I know. I was really surprised.
yeah, we're getting to that time.
I know, right?
Year's flying by.
It's a crazy time of year. I'm busy. You're busy. But we always have time for the pod.
We've never been too busy for the pod.
Never too busy for the
pod. Please. You'll always... There was a play I was in college, and there was a line, I'm not going to get it right, but it was something like, you're never too busy for, and this is like a quote people say often, but it's like, you're never too busy for the things you want to do. And it's like,
that's
true.
That's true.
And, even though sometimes it feels very packed, our schedules.
It's so
but
crazy.
We try.
But, okay, so if you heard our last episode from the HPS conference, it was great. It was a good time to see our community. We want to do this episode inspired by a topic that we were hearing about while we were at the con.
Yes. So if you haven't heard our last episode, we do recommend it. We think it was pretty great, but we're below biased.
Not to do it on
But there was a great little panel at the conference on Friday. I believe it consisted of 3 HPS patients and 1 HPS parent. And it was just kind of talking about advocating for yourself at the hospital, at the doctor's office, different funny or unfortunate experiences that they've had. And it just felt, when Cass and I were listening to it, we were like, this feels like a podcast, because it was very relatable stories. And we loved it. We loved that panel. And we were like, we've never really, we've talked about chronic health on this pod fairly often, but we've never really done an episode about this specific topic. And it was just such a good topic that we're stealing, essentially. Sorry.
Part of me thinks, no, right? I know. I love it. We're inspired. We're creating our own content.
Not stealing.
We're not stealing.
Right. Well, because we're not going to
we're not going to share their
tell you the same stories. Yeah.
But I think part of me thinks like, oh, this is such a niche topic, talking about accessibility in healthcare. But I think a lot of, not just our listeners, but I think there's a good amount of crossover between both like the visually impaired community and like the chronic health communities. They're not so separate, and usually a lot of times you'll have 2 completely distinct issues seemingly that go hand in hand, and you still need to advocate for yourself.
Right. And sometimes you're having to advocate about your vision. So it's not even like a health issue as much as it's like a disability thing visually. And I think everybody at some point is going to have to advocate for themselves at the doctor or the hospital, even if you don't have a chronic illness. So, depending. Yeah.
I'm excited. So, okay.
Me too.
Let's open it up with like new doctors. Okay, well, actually, you know what? About how many specialists do you think you have?
I knew you were going to ask that before when you said about how many.
I heard you were laughing. I was like, she knows.
It's got to be 10 to 15.
I know, right?
Like
something like that.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, we've got GIs, we've got pulmonologists, we've got lungs, intestines, we've got hematologists, which is blood,
OBGYN because we're women.
Yeah, we've got we've also got primary care doctors. Everyone's got one, and if you don't have one, go get one.
We both have cardiologist. Don't you have a cardiologist? I have a cardiologist.
I do have a cardiologist. A little newer ad for me, but I have a cardiologist.
Newer ad. Ooh, exciting.
you gotta stack them up, guys.
I have an allergist. That's
fun.
I've
seen an allergist before. It's been a minute.
ENT.
Though.
I think we both have an ENT.
I've never seen an ENT. Well, at least lately. Like I might have when I was a kid, but not in my adult life.
Right.
I have a dermatologist.
There's of course dermatologist. I've been to a urologist. There's what's the one for like there's another one that I can't think of the name of it, but they're all gists.
Gists. Yeah, we've seen surgeons before.
Right.
Of course,
rheumatologist is what I was trying to think of.
Rheumatologist? Yeah.
I don't have one right now, but yeah, of course.
Dentist.
Yeah.
You gotta have a dentist. That's another one that you should probably have. Yeah. I feel like I see majority of my specialists each year once at least. Yeah, would you say?
For me, like the ones that I definitely see besides primary care, the top three are pulmonologist, hematologist, and gastroenterologist. Those are the three
Same for me.
that are like a definite.
Because they are always happening
and I have
year.
to go or they're not going to refill my, or OBGYN as well. Actually, you should see if you're a female, you should see your OBGYN probably at least once a year.
I really should see my GYN. I've totally slacked on that. Like, there's so much
you can totally,
going on.
You can slack. I know it's hard, but I do go to them.
Yes,
I think once a year.
Definitely.
I try. I don't know. Dentist.
No, it's good.
Anyway.
I think that's great. Yeah. Well, so wanted to give you guys like a good picture of health. So we're very much involved, probably more than the average person who maybe sees just their primary once a year. Hopefully, y'all go see your primary.
Yeah.
I want this, if nothing else, for healthy folks, make this a PSA to go get a primary care.
Right.
But yeah, so we're very involved in healthcare. It sounds like an extracurricular when I say involved, but we are though. It takes a lot of time.
Though. Yeah, it does. It sure does. Yeah.
I feel like, unfortunately, I'm usually hospitalized at least once a year for any kind of reason.
I
would, haven't wanted that to be the case, but, I think since 2022, I've definitely gone to the hospital once a year. And the ER maybe once or twice, a handful of times. So, this is something we see regularly. And I think one of the things when you're pretty entrenched in chronic health is that your team is really, really important, especially those core few members. For us, it's hematology, GI, pulmonology, and primary. Those are our core team. And when someone on that core team changes,
which happened to me last year.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago, I think, at this point.
A couple of years ago, it happened to me too. It is, like, so jarring.
Yeah, we forgot ophthalmologist, but that's a whole other...
That's true.
Mine just changed.
Did it really?
I'll tell you the story later. It's actually kind of...
Because I got seen at the NIH somewhat recently, and I was like, well, okay.
Right. Yeah, when you're getting a new one or when one of those changes and you have to get a new one because one of them retired or moved away or whatever, you're going to have to start all the way over.
It's a lot.
With your entire history.
It's a lot.
And it's a lot, especially when you have a rare disorder that no one's ever heard of. It's definitely a lot to explain. So you've got to have a bit of an elevator pitch for your doctor that's like a concise way to sum up your rare disease. And... You know, a lot of times when we say our rare disease name, we're met with like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
And I usually start by saying it goes with albinism because a lot of them know what albinism is. So, you know.
Or that they just finished Googling it, you know, or how do you spell that?
Yeah, that
you
too.
know, classic.
They ask us how to spell it every time. Yeah.
What are some elements of your elevator pitch that you feel like are particularly useful that have stayed throughout the years?
You know, I add the albinism and vision impairment. I think that's important up front. I explain, usually the platelets would be the next thing you'd explain for HPS is, you know, our platelets don't have dense bodies in them. And you can use the chocolate chip cookie versus sugar cookie that we've talked about on this pod before. And some people are even creative enough to bring their doctors cookies.
I've done this before for a new doctor. You know, when you really want to make a good impression, like it does make a good impression. They definitely remember you. It's really helpful. Like they not only remember you, but they also remember the information, and maybe it kind of is a good incentive for them to look more into your rare disease. But it's a convenient analogy because it works and it's delicious. So
yes, and I'm sure you've all heard it, but if anyone is slightly confused, our platelets don't have dense bodies, like I said, which are dots. We call them dots at the HPS network because polka dots are like a thing for us. So a chocolate chip cookie obviously has chocolate chips, which look like a normal dense granule, dense body. And then a sugar cookie is how ours look. They're just flat. Like our platelets are flat with no grooves in them or whatever. So that's the cookies if you're confused. I just wanted to, just in case
I think that's great. And I was gonna mention the cookies if you didn't already because
Okay, good.
I really wanted, you know, we've done it before and like sometimes in the past we've worn like Dare to Be Rare merch or
that's a great idea,
like something that kind of sticks in their brain. I'm usually going to doctors, especially new doctors, with my mom. It's really helpful if you've got someone in your life, whether that's a spouse or a parent or a friend that can be really involved in your care, or just someone who can go to an appointment with you and be an extra set of eyes and ears, because sometimes you walk out of these appointments and there is just so much being thrown at you.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You need someone else there. Like, I've gone to appointments by myself because I'm a big girl, sure, but like, I think it, you know, sometimes I'll do that for ones that are a little less important, like dermatology. I've gone to the dermatologist by myself, but it's just, it's a quick check. There's ideally usually nothing wrong there. But I think it's really helpful to have someone with you because it's just a lot, guys.
Yeah. I agree. Like, it depends on the appointment, of course. But like last year, I was visiting a surgeon quite often. It was just a lot of information being thrown at you. So having 2 sets of ears to remember. And in fact, I would leave sometimes the appointment and my mom and I would argue about what was said. We'd be like, no, he said this. No, he said this. And it's like, you're not hearing everything because you're like so overwhelmed. You might not take everything in. Right. So you need another person to like, be like, I don't think that's what was said, or, you know, or take notes or whatever. I think they meant this, or that's nice. Yeah, right. They meant this because it's just, you're being thrown a lot and they don't have all the time in the world. So
yeah. You know. And even like, I know people in our community, in the Hermansky-Butlack syndrome community, that have like called other people and had them on speakerphone in the room. So even if they can't be there physically in person, like they can still be there and still be paying attention and get the information.
Yeah, well, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think
absolutely
another thing, you know, so those are probably the most important things worth mentioning for HPS for any specialist. And then,
right,
you know, at a certain point, you kind of have to go into your own health history, so they get a good idea of not just the condition, but also you. But I usually, you know, I usually mention pulmonary fibrosis as a like future risk for me, because I need my doctors to know that I'm trying to keep my body and my blood as like free of potential antibodies, so you can get antibodies from a lot of things, but including, you know, blood transfusions and things like that. And those can happen for us in an emergency situation because of our bleeding disorder. And so I think it's just important for them to know that I'm hopefully going to be a future candidate for a solid organ transplant some point in my life, many years in the road, hopefully. But so that they're aware of just the interrelatedness, because sometimes specialists can be like really siloed in their own like specialty, and
absolutely
the joke is kind of like doctors don't really work, or clinicians don't work super well together, because they're just in their own zone, they're doing their thing. And to get a doctor to work with another doctor,
it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. And oftentimes for us, it's our hematologist having to work with other people, because hematology, your blood, like affects so many other things.
It's
that
everywhere.
If you're getting any kind of like operation, literally, it's the whole body. If you're getting any kind of operation, even if it has nothing to do with like hematology, you're going to need your hematologist to work with the other people. And just like getting their offices to connect or whatever. I mean, it can be a total nightmare. And I'm sure a lot of you listening can probably relate to that. And I wish you didn't, but
I know, right? I know.
Sure, a lot of you can.
It's crazy, but it is like really important to find someone that is like willing to be teachable. I've changed specialists before because they were, you know, they knew best and they didn't really want input from other people, and it's not going to help your care, right?
No.
And it really is about your care. So if you feel like your specialist isn't hearing you, that's what second opinions are for. You can find another one, hopefully. One of my biggest tips too is that, as far as actual doctors and clinicians go, if you have some kind of rare disease or very specific health needs or interrelated complex conditions, I think it's really important, if you can, you know, this might not work for everyone, but if you can, get seen at a research hospital, because I get seen at Ohio State, and this was something that was recommended to me and then also my family when I was in pediatric care. So like when I was turning 17, my case was pretty complicated, at least from a GI standpoint, and they had recommended like, hey, why don't you go? I was already planning to go to college at Ohio State, and they were like, why don't you just get seen there, because they probably could do a better job than your small town, like our smaller town hospital. And it wasn't like a rinky-dink hospital, but even then they were like, you may benefit from someone who can do more digging.
Yeah, right. That's definitely good advice.
Or getting so some all doctors that see you at like a professional level are gonna have their MD, their medical doctorate, right? Some nerds, love them, some nerds also go and get a PhD in addition to their regular medical doctorate and their license that allows them to practice. So they just call them MD PhDs. If you can find an MD PhD and you have a complicated case, they may be a really good pick for you, because that means like they're nerdy. They love to learn new things. They like a little challenge and a little puzzle. If you can get one, they might be really excited about you. They might not think that you're, too much or something.
Right. They might actually be into learning about your disease or whatever. Yeah, that's actually a good point. So it's really fun when we're trying to explain our rare disease to doctors. Our community is amazing. We talk about it all the time, how blessed we are to have our community. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, but we have a new update about it. We have a QR code on a card, like a medical alert. I don't think we can call it medic alert, because that's another brand.
I'm going to go off and compliment this QR code in a minute, but go on, please.
Yes. So we have a card like that you can keep in your wallet-size card that's like a medical alert where you can scan the QR code, and it's basically the standard of care for someone with HPS. It tells them, when you scan the QR code, it explains our rare disease. It tells you what meds should be given to us, what to avoid, all the things, that you would need to know in an emergency situation, or even in a non-emergency situation, really. I do want you to talk about it too, but I was just going to say that a quick update that this year, brand new at the HPS conference, we have a girl named Megan. We talked about her in the last episode, who is an artist and designer, and she made HP Shady as our little ladybug mascot, and she made HP Shady little keychains, and on one side it's the little ladybug HP Shady, and on the other side it is our QR code. So it's really cool because we can just hang this key ring on our keychain, on our purse, on whatever, and if that way we'll always have it with us if we're in the car, or if we're ever out in public and we may need it. So it's so cute. It's so helpful. We have the cards still too, but
right. And I have the cards. I have I'm one of those people that has like a phone wallet case, and I don't know if that's incredibly cringe, but I just hate carrying multiple things. So I have it always in my like phone wallet. But I love the keychain. It's so cute. I have it dangling on my belt bag. My belt bag is like just kind of a neutral brown. But it's so cute because it's like red and black, and it has a little pop of color, and it's practical. It's so cute. Love.
And actually hanging things from your bags now it's like becoming more popular, like little
keychains charms and stuff. Yeah. It's so cute. Yeah. I love it.
It's cute.
Okay, this QR code is quite literally like a lifesaver for me. So I have personal beef with Medical Alert. I don't think that everyone should have beef with Medical Alert, but I'm just like, this is based on my own experience alone. I used to.
Or you're talking about the brand Medical Alert,
I'm talking about like just like a Medical Alert bracelet.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So like ever since I was really little, I had a Medical Alert bracelet on at all times, and I decided when I started working, I got a slightly nicer one that I wanted to last. And it was like gold filled, so I was like, okay, because I don't take it off. Like I just have it on all the time.
Right. You don't
I don't want it to tarnish or anything. Right. And on the back it said like platelet defect. It said vision impairment or something, or like legally blind or something. And then it said like permanent ileostomy, so that in case, God forbid, I was like incapacitated somehow. Like EMTs would know, right? So I always had that.
Right.
And in 2022, you guys probably remember or not, I was crossing the street and I got hit by a car, like as a pedestrian. It was like literally, the nightmare scenario. And, the EMTs came, like, for those that didn't know the end of the story, I wouldn't say fine, but I was just significantly bruised, but actually none of my bones broke, and I wasn't like actively bleeding, but I was super bruised. Like I had multiple huge hematomas on my legs, and I couldn't really walk for a few months after that. I had a lot of physical therapy, but I'm generally fine now. My knees are still kind of weird, but anyway, so just so that y'all don't freak out. But anyway, so there were some really, really nice witnesses that helped call the ambulance, and the EMTs came, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the moment for my medical alert bracelet. And I like showed the EMTs. I'm like, hey, I have a rare disease. I have a bleeding disorder. Like here. And I kept pointing to my medical alert, and they just like, they didn't do anything. And I was like, oh gosh, wow, okay, whatever. And I kept trying to explain it while we were in the ambulance, whatever. And then they looked again in the ambulance, and they were like, ma'am, this engraving is rubbed off. This bracelet doesn't say anything. And I'm like...
And that's the whole point, is it's
and I'm like, what? So I felt super thrown, and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How am I supposed to explain myself? Because they took me to the closest trauma hospital, which is not my regular hospital. And I was getting taken care of at a place that didn't have my medical history. And so it was a lot. And I was by myself. I'd called my parents, but they lived about an hour away, so they were still coming, and they were, in the hospital. They were doing a bunch of x-rays, and they couldn't pull my medical information from the other institution, and they were like, can you tell us your medical history? And I was a little hysterical because I just got hit by a car. And I cackled, and I was like, ha ha, you guys aren't ready for my medical history. And I tried to start explaining, but obviously were they really gonna take me seriously? Like I just got hit by a car. So, eventually when my mom came, they did some x-rays, but they weren't doing anything about the hematomas that were continuing to grow on my leg. 'Cause a bruise is internal bleeding. A hematoma is like that, but more. And so for someone with a bleeding disorder, there are certain measures that they needed to take, but they didn't know that. And so my mom had the QR code card in her wallet, and she was like, hey, trying not to be like the insane mom, because I was 24, right, when this happened. But she's like, so, she has a rare disease, like, whatever, And so, the nurse kind of scanned it with his phone, and he was like, okay, whatever, and starts slowly backing out of the room as he's reading on his phone, because they always have phones on them. And not 5 minutes later, 5 people come back into the room, and they've got the stuff. They've got they've got the meds, they've got the ice, they got the marker to draw a circle around the bruise to see if it was growing. They had everything. They wrapped my legs with compression. It was none of that would have happened if that QR code were not there. And it was I have it on me at all times now, because I know how powerful it is to have your standard of care right at the ready. And it doesn't have to be fancy, y'all. This was done by, one of the parents in our community. It's literally a Google Doc. But
literally you can make your own.
You can collaborate with one of the physicians that knows more about your disease and do it yourself. But it is almost, I would say, more important than a medical alert. I think there's still merit to medical alert bracelets, period, especially if you have an allergy.
If you are incapacitated, they're not going to know to look for a key ring, but
exactly,
hopefully you won't be alone and incapacitated. That's a terrible thought. Hopefully not.
Could happen, but
even if you are, it could happen. It could, for sure. But like you said, yours was rubbed off anyway, so it wouldn't have even.
I know. So if you've got a medical alert, make this your sign to also just double check your engraving. Make sure it's still there.
Right. And this is it really is a great way to be an advocate for yourself in the hospital, because you're so flustered typically when you're going to the hospital that it's hard to explain everything, and to just give something like that, we're so grateful to have that.
It made awesome. All the difference.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that it really helped you in literally your time of need, like an actual
right?
time of need. Like, we have the real proof that it works because you actually have used it. So
I know. And it got the desired result. It wasn't just like we tried and it failed, but like those people came in that room and they were prepared.
They were prepped.
And they were super excited about it too. They were like, we were like reading it and nerding out downstairs. Like,
aww.
It was cool. They liked it a lot, actually. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. It's wild out here, okay?
It is. We got to do what we got to do to take care of ourselves. It's not easy. We got to be creative. We got to be memorable, creative. Yeah.
It's wild. So, speaking of hospitals, I want to talk about like accessibility in the medical setting. And I think I'm thinking of especially as relates to vision and vision impairment.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So like, all right, like both good and bad. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about how when you're admitted to the hospital, if you tell them you're legally blind, which you probably should, I do.
Yeah.
They give you a bracelet that says fall risk, and
I know.
It makes me laugh.
I don't know why.
Only because you're blind.
Yeah.
They also can do it for other conditions as well, but they give it to us even if we're not a fall risk for any other reason other than being blind. So then if you want to walk around, they're like, "Oh, you're a fall risk." And it's like, "No, but I'm fine." So that's always funny to me. I think that's a little ridiculous.
It happens to me every time I've had to go to the NIH. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, you're a fall risk." Like, I'm like, no, guys. Like, it's not a question really of balance. Like we're good.
Wobbly balance.
We wobbly balance. Self-referential joke.
If you're an OG listener.
But like, as long as we've got our tools, and unless we're like really not doing well in other aspects of our health, like we're not really a fall risk. And I think that that's like a
no it bothers me.
I think it's a misunderstanding in like the medical field.
Yeah, because like also when you're in a hospital, you're not gonna be walking around anywhere and everywhere. You're literally probably getting out of bed to go to the bathroom. Yeah. And so it's right there.
I know.
Like,
I know. And
you're probably not gonna fall.
As long as the path is clear, and yeah, there can be a lot of obstacles in a room, especially if you're being hospitalized, like IV drips.
But we're aware of that.
But like
we're ready for that.
You're just more cautious. I don't know. We don't need to be.
I've just had people be really dramatic about it. Like
me too.
I've been taken like downstairs for like a test or something. If I'm in the hospital, I'm like gurneyed like to a room for a test, and just getting off of the gurney to like the table for the CT or whatever, they freak out about me falling or whatever. And I'm like, I'm literally stepping from one table to another, but. You know, it's just, I mean, I get it. I'm not like hating on the whole fall risk thing. It's there for a reason. It just makes me laugh as someone who, like, we know our vision. I guess the bottom line with that is, like, we know our vision better than these people. And I've been in the hospital before where people are very dramatic about the vision. Like, they're like, well, you're blind, well, this and that. And I'm like, I get it, but, like, there's a lot of other things going on right now that are probably more important than my vision impairment. And you're, like, putting a big emphasis on my vision impairment when this is not the reason I'm here. You know?
I think, yeah, I totally agree. Because I think it's both, like, overemphasized and also very much underemphasized because, this happened to me recently. Like, I've been going to a lot of appointments this year, and, like, I'll go in, you know, with my cane most of the time because hospitals are big. I made the mistake of going into an appointment without my cane recently, and I so regretted it. Because, but even outside of that, even if you do have your cane, guys, there is so much pointing that goes on in a hospital.
Oh my gosh.
You go to, like, a desk, and they're like, okay, you can go over there, and I'm like, where?
Yes, where? No, you're right. And I think, I mean, everyday life is like this, though. Like, everyday life, people either overdo it or underdo it, but at the hospital, in a setting like that where you're already stressed and sick and whatever, it just like magnifies the whole situation.
Yes.
That they're overdoing it or underdoing it.
It's, this was a story like someone shared a story that was similar to this on the panel that we were like listening to, but this happens to me all the time, where like at registration they give you your bracelet and they want you to confirm the information and they just hold it in front of you like, does this look right? And I'm like, sometimes I just say yes and don't even bother.
Me too. Me too.
I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. Like, or they'll like sometimes I'll just have them hand it to me and I'll put it right up against my face. Or sometimes they're like, you're like if my mom is there too, and they're like, yeah, you're like, your companion can check. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So dramatic.
Or they'll show you a form with like a lot of stuff on it, like your address and your phone. And they're like, has any of this changed?
And I'm like,
and a lot of times I'm just like, no.
No.
Probably not.
It's like, can't you just read it out? Like, is it going to cost you that much to just read it to me? And sometimes they've done that, and I've just really appreciated it that I didn't have to just either completely fake it or...
Yeah. I think the better way, the way I like when they go about it, because like it is really important actually that you have the right hospital bracelet, because like you don't want to go in for like an appendectomy when you're not there for that, you know, like you want to make sure they know who you are. But what I like is when they come in the room and they say, what is your name and date of birth? And you tell them, and they look at your bracelet and they confirm that the bracelet says what you are. And another story that same person on the panel we saw told was, if you're in the hospital, you know, they switch shifts, the nurses and stuff, and they come in and they write their name on this board.
It's a whiteboard. It's like, there's always a whiteboard, and there's always a whiteboard,
and they write their name on it. It's like so helpful.
And they're like,
they're writing their name on a whiteboard that you can't see.
Here's your name. And then in some hospitals, they have like pager extensions or numbers that you can call your nurse directly. Yeah. And they put that on the whiteboard, and I'm like, babes.
Yeah. Babes.
And like, we can take a picture of it with our phones. So, you know, like, yeah, that does work. But honestly, in most cases, I'm just going to hit the red call button on the remote.
Right.
Because that gets me the help that I need.
And oftentimes we will have someone with us, luckily. And I think, you know, you might be thinking, oh, you need somebody with you because you're disabled. I think at the hospital, it's beneficial to anyone, whether you're able-bodied or not, to have someone there.
Hospital, but I mean, I've been in the hospital by myself. I'm going to be real.
I mean, you can be there by yourself for like overnight or a few hours, but like the whole time it would be hard because you almost need someone there that is like able to walk out in the hallway and say, hey, we need this, or like, hey, you need someone, because hospitals can get things wrong, and you need someone to be there, just like we were talking about earlier with like you and your person like hearing things differently at appointments. Hospitals can sometimes get it wrong, and if you're kind of out of it and sleepy and on drugs, you really need someone there to like say, hey, this is not right, or like, hey, no, they need this. And that's true for anybody, not just a visually impaired person. That's true for anybody.
That's happened to us a lot, like where, you know, it's not that they're necessarily making mistakes all the time, but, you know, they'll come in and they're like, oh, it's time for your whatever meds, and we're like, wait, were those meds I was supposed to take? Like, I didn't know it was on those, you know? Like, and if you're like half asleep and out of it, you need to be aware.
And they're just handing you things, you're just going to take them.
Okay, sure, I'll just take it, but like, that could be bad.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. You've got to ask. You've got to be like, what am I taking? You need to like be aware. And if you're too incapacitated to be aware, you need somebody else to be aware for you at the hospital.
Yeah. Especially,
and
like,
I think.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, because I was going off on a different tangent.
No, I was just gonna say, like, especially if you're going in for a procedure and you need something done before your procedure, or you have an allergy to something that's really important that they don't get wrong.
Oh yeah.
You know, for us, it's like if we've got some kind of minor procedure, like a colonoscopy, for example, and they need to know, like, I need medications to prevent, like, excess bleeding if they're going to go inside, right? And so we need to make sure that those things happen before the procedure. You can't just rest at ease and assume that they're going to get it taken care of, because they're busy places.
Often don't. Yeah, they're busy. They have a lot to juggle. You've got to be your own advocate. You've got to ask. You've got to double check. Because they'll be as good as they can, but they're only human as well.
They're only human. You know? And we've had to full on like prevent the start of procedures because not only me, but like also whoever is in there with you, your advocate person in your room, is going to make sure that these things get done too. Yeah,
that's very true. Another thing I just wanted to touch on fast, that was in the not forum. What am I trying to say? The panel that we listened to. One of the parents on the panel was kind of talking about making appointments and all of that fun and just kind of making it a game for her child. And I thought that was really cute. And of course, we're adults now and stuff. But I do think there is something to be said about, like, if you're having a hospital stay, especially if it's going to be a longer stay or you're going to be there, to kind of like find games to play with people. If you have a person visiting you, to like play a little game or to laugh or at the silly things the nurse says, or to whatever, like to just try to find the fun, because it really does a lot for your morale in the hospital. Like the more sad you are, the more devastating it can feel.
No kidding.
So I'm really into that as well.
I love that too. I think that's so important. I think also, one thing that my mom and I do, because she comes to most of my appointments, we like really work hard to make like a reward system. So, like after don't just go home after your appointment if you can help it. Go to the coffee shop that's nearby and get you a pastry. Like you gotta make this feel more lovely than it is. Like for us, we make it excuses to go and get that thing. So I went and I saw a neurologist recently for the first time, and it was just kind of a pain.
There's another agist.
Yeah, there's another agist. And we went, and there's a place that sells churros here in Columbus, and they did this thing for, like the Dubai chocolate with like the pistachio cream and the chocolate.
Of course.
They did this like big churro cup that had like little like mini churros and like pistachio cream and Dubai and like chocolate, melted chocolate, and then like the crunchy bits, and strawberries. It's like kind of expensive because it's huge, but it's
I would assume
so good. But so we left the neurologist and we went and we got ourselves like a Dubai chocolate cup thing and split it. And it was
especially
just
if
like,
you've already planned it, like it's coming, so you can like get through your crappy appointment.
You can like look forward to it, because like I really wanted to get the thing over with, but and I had to go back to work afterward, but like build it into your hospital medical visit time to make sure that you go and reward yourself with something that you're excited about, so that it feels worthwhile. Otherwise, it's just exhausting.
One of my favorite things is a post-colonoscopy meal, because you're so hungry.
Yes.
You're so hungry after that it's great to like plan your meal and be like, this is what I'm getting and I'm so excited to eat it. And even just that can kind of make you feel because it takes your mind to the future, where you're planning for after. So you're not, that's what I hate auditioning. When I would do a lot of theater, I would always have like an after audition plan, so that even if it was just like going home and watching my favorite movie or something, so that in my head I could imagine myself like, okay, in 3 hours I'll be watching this movie, and I can, even if it's just that, you don't have to go buy something every time necessarily, but like even just having a plan for after, if it's going to be like a difficult appointment, especially, make it like make it end in a good day,
Wait, what is a good post colonoscopy meal? Because I have mine.
Well, the one I had last time, this might be a little, like, maybe not a good post-colonoscopy meal.
No, what is your
it was indulgent. So I had, like, a Chick-fil-A sandwich with the fries, and it just, like, it really hit the spot because I was hungry. That's good.
Usually, I've always wanted, like mac and cheese with seafood.
I knew you were going to say that. I think I had already remembered.
I think I've told you this at some point. But
you have, and I knew it was coming.
I got a scope last summer, and I was like, okay, we're going to go to Red Lobster. Like,
Red Lobster. That's amazing. Yeah. You got to get something you can indulge in,
I know,
you got to get something good.
Especially, like, hematology appointments. I don't know about yours, but mine are always so long, because hematology is a really interesting specialty, at least I think most hematologists are like this because they're also coupled with oncology. So,
Mine's an oncologist too.
Yeah. So like cancer doctors and specialists as well. But they have like hematology, oncology, or hemonc units are like, they're like a mini city, or like a baby hospital. Mm-hmm. They've got their own pharmacists. They've got their own social workers. They've got their own, like, I don't know, nurses. They've got like in a little infusion clinic. Like they've got all the people. And so every time I go, which is usually just like once a year to check in, I see like 5 people, and it takes like 3 hours.
Well, pulmonology too, because you have to do like tests every,
that one,
that takes forever.
You try to book it all on the same day because you have to do your whole pulmonary function test, and then you do your 6-minute walk, and then you have to go see the doctor and talk about the results.
Right. The results of it.
It's like a whole day affair.
Right. PFTs are not a short, quick, easy thing.
No.
Half the time you do it wrong and they yell at you. And then,
and then they're like, we need to do that one again. And I'm like, you do.
Again, you broke the seal. Put your lips tight around it. But don't put your teeth down.
Harder. Like,
push as hard as you can. Harder.
Blow, 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 blow.
Blow, 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 blow.
If y'all have never seen a pulmonologist, this is like disorienting, I bet.
Oh, man.
It's so wild.
PFTs are a wild experience.
There's so much. I did also want to talk about like times where you felt like very well cared for. I have a couple stories. But like you feel like a doctor or a specialist, like they really understood you.
Yeah. One time recently I was at my surgeon's office, and he had some pictures on the wall he wanted to show me, and just like immediately he was just like, you can't see this, stand up and I'll and I didn't have to say anything. He knew, like he remembered that, and you might be thinking, oh well they should, but a lot of times they don't. And so
it's really hard to remember your vision impairment among all the other things.
Right. He really made sure, and it wasn't, the surgery had nothing to do with my vision, so he really made sure I could see it. I always appreciate that, for sure.
That's so nice. I've had so many different GIs in my GI clinic over the course of the past 10 plus years that I've been seen here. But I finally got just like a really great GI, and I love her. And she came into like our first appointment, and it's happened at every appointment since, where it is bright in those rooms. It is so bright in those rooms, and we're just kind of used to it. We're not gonna sit here and complain, because like you got to pick your battles, as we've said before. Right. So I'm there with my cane or with my dog and with my mom, and I'm just sitting there squinting and whatever. This GI, like we're talking, we're chatting, and my mom and I kind of, we feel like we've got a little road show,
Oh, yeah.
And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But, like, the GI is just looking at me. She's like, is it too bright in here for you? And I was like, yeah, all the time, yes. And so she was like, let's turn these lights down. And she did. And this has happened every time I have seen her. Even when I went to go see her for, like, a colonoscopy, she, like, in the room when she came to talk to me before the procedure, she's just like, turn these lights off. Like, just, it was, I've never had a doctor do that for me. It was so nice.
That is so nice. That's so nice. It's like these little things, they might seem little, but they're not. They're meaningful to us when people remember and do things like that for us.
And it's like, it's because like they're trying to care for you. But like, doing small things like this really show that they're really trying to care for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they actually do care. And you're not just another person. Yeah. I can't think of many other specific stories, but I have had many moments. I know I have, throughout the years where I've had many moments where I've been treated terribly by medical professionals, absolutely terribly. But I've had many moments where I've been treated absolutely lovely. I think a lot of the people at the NIH have been really lovely just because you feel really understood and cared about there.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that before. And it's a great place to get a full workup and actually feel like they understand you. And I've had times where I've been in the hospital where my doctor at the hospital will call one of the doctors from the NIH and talk to them. And that was so meaningful to me when one of our doctors from the NIH talked to my doctor, because it was one of those situations where like we were kind of at a loss of what to do. And they helped a lot and gave a lot of clarity. And like that meant a ton to me. And just like all the doctors we get to talk to at the HPS conferences, last year I was going through a lot of stuff and I talked to quite a few of them, and just to get their opinion, it was so like valuable. Like you don't often get to just like sit at the bar and ask for a doctor's opinion, and they're so knowledgeable. So, like I've definitely had a lot of really good moments with doctors who care, and it makes such a difference.
It's huge. It's so wild. Yeah. So yeah, my mom and I's roadshow where like we, I have my own elevator pitch, which I've given, but we kind of like tag team it a lot of the times. And like we spend so much time together. We play off of each other a lot, like kind of the way that you and I play off of each other for this banter. Pod. Yeah. We banter back and forth as we're talking to the doctor, kind of explaining different symptoms and things. And and it's more than once we've had doctors being like, man, you guys are so much fun. Like, I wish I could stay here and chat with you for a while, which is great. I mean, we want them to feel like that, because like that means that they want to see us. Like, but she and I have this whole thing, and I had to change hematologists because mine retired, 3 or 4 years ago, and I think 3 years ago, and like, it's always nerve-wracking when your specialist retires, but it was ready. We were so ready, and we were like, okay, we're gonna really like try to win over this hematologist. We need him to care, whatever. And this hematologist, I love my hematologist so much. He comes in and he's like, you have Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome. And he starts telling us what Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome is. And we're like, wait a minute. But that's our role. We're supposed to tell you about HPS. Right. And it was so shocking. And we were like, and we just kind of let him continue, even though we knew what he was going to say. We were like, oh yeah, yep. But we were so impressed, and we were like, wow, this is really amazing. And I don't think he had just looked it up either. Like, he had actually, in his experience, he had, I think, had some kind of like fellowship or early on career experience in like California, and he had seen HPS patients before. And so I'm apparently the only one in the OSU clinic of people with HPS. Sure. But he was so excited that I wasn't just another hemophilia patient. Yeah. You're a little more spice. But like,
not so boring.
It was so cool. Like, we actually, and we don't expect all the doctors to know. It's a rare disease. There's so many of them,
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
But to have a doctor actually know and then tell you for a change, like, okay, like, please.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I've told that story before of in New York. I had a doctor say, oh yeah, that albino bleeding thing, which I thought was really funny. So he had heard of it, like, and that was not his specialty whatsoever, but he had heard of it. So, sometimes they have, and it's nice. Half of that is thanks to how great our network is, and like how amazing we are at advocacy, because it's very rare. So, not many people have heard of it, but yeah,
it's great. It's so good, and we're so grateful for our community. Wow, it's like that's been such a running theme of just this own episode, because I don't know what it would be like to have to go through all of these appointments and all of this stuff without the support of the community, knowing that like we've got resources, we've got people
I can't
at the
imagine.
NIH who like really know our condition, right? Like
I cannot imagine.
I don't know what that would be like. That would be really terrifying. Like
Terrifying. Oh, it would be awful. It would be awful. I feel like we are so equipped with the knowledge we have.
Yes.
Like we know our own conditions so well, and that's because of them. It's not because of us.
Yeah.
It's because of them and what we've learned from them. And so, it's really something we take for granted, and we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy cool. And like, I think going to the conference is a really good reminder of how vital that is.
Yeah, it is every time. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, definitely whatever community you are a part of, like, you should try to connect with them to empower you in order to get the care that you need. And hopefully you have something that's pretty well established, but maybe start your own if you need to.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So,
good.
This was a really fun app, and we haven't really touched on all of this before, so I'm really glad we did.
I know. It's a topic that deserves coverage because, I mean, clearly we've talked for 50 minutes, so.
Clearly, and we haven't really done a chronic illness app in a hot minute, so we're always happy to bring that to you, and our next app will be a little more light and more of a flair, and so we're excited for that. But yeah, we hope you all have a lovely next 2 weeks ahead of you.
And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye!